Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of Full Steam Ahead. I'm your host, Zoe. Cantu's on the other side. Stebby has the day off, but breaking news, Angel.
Yeah, just coming in, Mauricio Dubon. What was your first reactions to that?
I'm just in complete shock. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm shocked, but then I'm not shocked because this morning you already had a report from the Braves beat writer saying that the Braves had interest in Dubon. Later throughout this day, Brian McTaggart comes and he had a source that had mentioned that there have been some phone calls raving about, seeing what Mauricio Dubon's availability is to this club. And then the shocking part for me was obviously the trade, but the return. I'm not saying nothing bad for Nick Allen, but I thought the Astros could have got another stronger player in return than that. Like I said, nothing against him, but for Dubon having 2 Gold Gloves, just won his second one recently this season, being a Gold Glove finalist the last 3 seasons, 2 out of the 3 winning the award. You thought there would have been a little bit more value with that name because, of course, the versatility that this guy brings to a team in the infield, and he could play outfield as well. So that was my immediate reaction whenever I saw this trade go down. How about yours?
Yeah. So you called me. Once the trade happened, I was working. I didn't really keep tabs on it, and at first I was like, "There's no way," but then we started talking about it, and then we just kind of think. So I don't know. My reaction was like, it makes sense. I'm not surprised. At the end of the day, this is a business, right? So the Astros are going to do what is best for them, and honestly, no one is safe, especially during the off season. Teams are making moves, so I don't want to say shocked or anything like that. I was just understanding that, again, like I said, this is the business.
Yeah, this is the ugly side of the baseball world. No one likes to see the business, the arbitration hearings, the contract extensions, just the free agency itself. None of the players like to go through that, especially I would say for the arbitration. But Dubon was already being on his last year of arbitration. He would be a free agent going into 2020, the last end of 2026. And this put up a good point because people were reacting. And let's go to Twitter real quick. I have it on here, and we wanted to know the reactions. Go ahead.
What do we want to go what happened, and then say our input, and then you get the fan the reaction there.
Yeah, so let's go through this timeline real quick. You already got the objectives on our side. What we're going to be talking about: Astros Rumor Mill. We're going to be talking about Brendan Donovan as well as Jake Meyers, and you see Ramón Urías got DFA'd, which was another shocker.
Yeah.
Not a shocker, but after this move, it was kind of a shocker. Now, Miguel Ullola and then tender and non-tender, but. Angel, real quick, you want to just tell everybody where they can see us, where I'm pulling this?
Yeah. So you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, X, YouTube. That's at Full Steam Ahead. Only Instagram is different. It's just at FSA Full Steam Ahead. But yeah, I guess we can start off with Mauricio Dubon, your thoughts and all that stuff. So go ahead, Zoe.
Yeah, so like I said in the beginning of it, it's like, why would Houston trade away a utility guy that just won his second Gold Glove? And, he's a big name in this fan base. A lot of numerous fans in Houston and just an Astros fan in general just love this guy because of what he brings to the community, just the energy that he brings, that, like you said, when we were talking, that charisma that Mauricio Dubon, everybody loves the guy whenever he goes out to the field. And going through the timeline, like I mentioned, I'll just read the reports, what was out there. And this was coming from Matt Bowman, that's the Braves beat writer for MLB.com. Had mentioned that the Braves have at least inquired about Astros utility man Mauricio Dubon. Then later on, like I had mentioned, for Brian McTaggart, there's growing trade interest in Astros Gold Glove utility player Mauricio Dubon, who could be dealt prior to Friday tender deadline. And then later in the day, around 8 o'clock, I would say, p.m. Central Time here in Houston, Texas, the Astros announced they have acquired infielder Nick Allen from the Atlanta Braves in exchange for infielder/outfielder Mauricio Dubon. So we already got the full glimpse of it. Now let's talk about why this move was happening, because like we're talking about, Angel, a lot of fans weren't happy about it. And I already had mentioned what Mauricio Dubon means to this fan base. Well, the business end comes out of it,
Yeah.
and the Astros they were not going to tender a 5.8 according to MLB trade rumor. This is the projection of what he was supposed to be making this coming arbitration hearing, 5.8 million. And for a utility guy that's almost going to get paid 6 million, you would think the Astros looking to somebody else.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's not a shocker because what end of the day, what the Astros are trying to do is save as much money, bring in more money to
Yeah.
go starting pitcher. That's what's the number one. That's the number one priority this offseason for the Houston Astros is going out there and getting starting pitching to help out this rotation.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% a money move. And honestly, with Mauricio Dubon winning his second Gold Glove, I think that number reaches the 6 million instead of that 5.8 because that's what our arbitration is, right? The Astros will probably offer 5.8, but then or like the Atlanta Braves now, Mauricio Dubon can argue and say, no, I think I deserve this much, right? So I truly think it'll be the 6 million. Now, this is what I was kind of telling you over the phone when this happened is if we look at the lineup, or I guess the defensive alignment for the Astros, you're looking at Christian Walker at first base, Isaac Baez at second base, Jeremy Pena at short, and Carlos Correa out there. That's a given. Now, what this move tells me right here is that Jordan Alvarez is going to be DH for majority of the time. If he plays 10 plus games in the outfield this season, I'll be shocked. 10 plus games. Like literally, unless Jose Altuve needs a day off to get his feet wet, unless there's an injury, right, or anything like that, Jordan Alvarez going to be in and out. Now what that tells me is they're probably sticking to Jose Altuve in the outfield. That's a given. Jake Meyers at center field, and then Cam Smith. Now, you still have Jesus Sanchez. You still have Zach DeZenzo. You still have, now Nick Allen, right? So with the infield, you can kind of move, you can still have moving pieces by giving your bats around. You can move Isaac Baez to third when Carlos Correa needs a day off. You can move Jose Altuve to second, right? Isaac Baez can also play first base, was a given. Correa can play shortstop when he needs to, right? So there's these movements around, and honestly, I don't think Mauricio Dubon would have been seen a lot of playing time if everybody's healthy, right? If everybody's healthy, you're looking at it'll be hard to replace Mauricio Dubon for maybe a bat like Isaac Baez, right? It'd be hard to replace him for Christian Walker and stuff like that. So it makes sense moving a guy who you're going to pay $6 million to be a defensive substitution. Now, I know that may not sound too wonderful for Astros fans who again fell in love with Dubon and who, one of their favorite players, right? And all that good stuff, brought a bunch of stuff. But I, in my opinion, it's a business. It's the right move. You have Nick Allen and Mauricio Dubon are similar players. I would say I would give the better player status to Mauricio Dubon, yes, right? But if you can save some money by paying him $1 million and maybe sign a Ranger Suarez or Dylan Cease, right? I think that's a win, right? So freeing up some money to make a big splash like that, and then I know this is coming up, but Brendan Donovan is another guy that they're looking at, and if they bring him, what do you do with Dubon, right? So you got to free up money somewhere. You got to free up room somewhere. So it's just this just shows that this move shows that the Astros are going to be busy this offseason, right? And they're going to try to make some reinforcements, get some moves, free up some money whenever they can to make this team better.
Yeah, and they've already freed up some money already in this early part of the offseason with non-tendering Chas McCormick, non-tendering Luis Garcia, and another guy that's on there is Ramón Urías. That was another utility guy. And that projection, of course, the number, when you think of a Gold Glover, you're thinking that number is going to be more than likely going to be over $1 million, possibly $2 million. And what Urias's projection was 4.4 million. Yeah. So taking out 4.4, taking out 5.8, that's already over 10 million that the Astros aren't going to be tendering, because it is good to have a utility guy. No doubt about that. So what we're looking at as of right now is looking possibly at Nick Allen being the utility infielder just in case one of these guys get hurt. like Angel said, there's just so much depth in this infield, and it's a good problem to have because Carlos Correa, I think he's already gotten comfortable at third base. He is not going back to shortstop unless the Astros need him. If let's say Pena gets hurt, or they could possibly even put Nick Allen at short too. So you got two guys at third base. You got I'll put Allen at shortstop for now. You could put Pena and Allen. You got Altuve, and you can even put Paredes as well. I'm pretty sure Allen has played some second base, not to mention. And now you have Christian Walker, and possibly you can throw, maybe if the Astros are comfortable with it, is having Isaac Paredes, get some playing time at first base. Probably in the offseason, possibly could be practicing at that position right now. So it's a good problem to have, but at the same time, too, I think Dubon was more of a big asset in the outfield. I mean, the infield, of course, too, but the outfield, Jake Meyers got hurt. You saw him play a lot of outfield, a lot of center field, a lot of left field, not to mention as well. So just the versatility that guy brought to this team, that's going to be hard to replace. But at the same time, if you're a Houston Astros fan, there's young players coming up. You have Zach Cole, you have Jacob Melton as of right now. You don't know if the Astros might be ready to bring up Bryce Matthews that could be potentially looking for a spot come spring training. So yes, they're letting go of these guys, but at the same time too, Houston knows that they got some guys that could come up that has already gotten a taste of the big leagues from last year. And now coming into this year, like I said, Cole, Melton, they have a good shot of
Taylor Trammell,
some depth. Yeah, Taylor Trammell, if they tender or non-tender his contract. So that's the bright spot for Houston if you're a Nationals fan that can look at it. Kevin, of course, I can see you're already pretty sad about this move. Is this the worst trade of all time? I don't think so. But the biggest move so far for the Astros this season has been Mauricio Dubon being traded. Yeah, streaming in a Porsche this time.
Yeah. I'm out, busy man right here.
I mean, yeah, it's been a busy offseason so far for the Astros, but like we had mentioned, the number one priority for this team is getting pitching. It's getting pitchers, starting pitchers more than anything, because of course you saw last year of the injuries that had happened, and then kind of transpired a little bit worse into this season. So I feel like Dana Brown is just doubling down on making sure that they get a little bit more depth in the pitching, at least in the rotation part, because you're going to have Nate Pearson's getting an opportunity to start some games. Of course, you have Spencer Ragetti, you got Hunter Brown. More than likely, in my opinion, and we both agree on this, Angel, I think I can speak for you, that Framber Valdez is not going to return in an Astros uniform.
Could be.
Okay, you still got the possibility.
Still got the possibility. Hey, he's a free agent. He's a free agent, right?
Possibility in it, but you still got Christian Javier, and then you got some guys that could potentially be getting some spots in that back end of like a guy like AJ Blueball, who can possibly having the last part of that season in 25 can help him go into spring training with a chip on his shoulder, knowing that he has the possibility of maybe being that 5 guy of this rotation. He did really well last year in the bullpen and getting some starts here and there. So wouldn't be surprised of him getting some, but early birthday gift. Oh, we're talking about the Porsche still.
Yeah, talking about the Porsche, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but going back to the Astros, pitching is going to be in, and of course the Astros are going to want to compete. They're going to have to get a number one guy besides Hunter Brown. He is your ace of this rotation now for going whenever his contract ends or he gets a contract extension. You're going to have to go get a guy like a Ranger Suarez. You're going to have to go get a guy like a Dylan Cease, as well as Michael King. So the Astros are just loading up right now. That's how, if you're a Nationals fan, that's how you're going to have to see it.
I do agree with you with one thing. Like, again, I don't think this was a bad move for the Astros, but I do think they should try to get. And maybe they did, and maybe the Braves were reluctant to, trade up arm. I think they should have gotten like a reliever or a pitcher. And we were just talking about this again before we recorded because we were looking at their 40-man roster, and I think they should try taking a chance on Alek Manoah too, right? I think again hasn't really been inconsistent, but you do have new pitching coaches, still a young guy, still a guy that can maybe turn it around or maybe try to aim at a reliever, because I think if they were going to do an arm, like Christo's not going anywhere for the Braves, Spencer Schoenbach, Smith Sawyer not going anywhere, Bryce Elder's probably not going anywhere, right? Especially for Mauricio Dubon. So, but you got some other low end type of guys that you could either add like a relief help, or maybe like I said, like Alec Manoah. If you're already going to trade him, might as well trade him for someone that's gonna get around the same amount of money as Nick Allen, and maybe it can be like a diamond in the rough in the long run, right? Especially eating up innings or bullpen help, whatever it may be. But I do agree. I think an arm, as you've seen for the last few years, arms are like pitchers are like diamonds right now, right? Everybody wants them, everybody needs them, and they're very expensive, right? So and they come in very limited quantity sometimes. So it's just I just think a little shot. And I'm sure Donna Brown tried. Again, we weren't there in those conversations, but just going by what we think would be best for the Astros.
Yeah, how about that too? Dana Brown trading with a mentor, I would say, as being a vice president of scouting for them last 4 seasons in Atlanta, and being able to make a trade like that with their GM. I'm not even gonna try to get this guy's last name. I know you might know who I'm talking about, Alex
Anthropology, yeah,
something like that. I'm not even gonna try. But the relationship that they have, that's still good. That it's still there intact, and they can go back and maybe in the trade deadline look at some other players, not Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies. I know a lot of fans would like to see Matt Olson or Austin Riley in an Astros uniform, but
I think Dubon will be their starting shortstop, because
as of right now, yes.
Arcia's not there, right? I think he's a free agent as well.
Arcia was traded. Well, he was let go, and the Rockies had picked him up.
That's right.
So as of right now, I believe Dubon is the Braves' starting shortstop, because in third base you have Austin Riley. Second base you got Albies, and first base you got Matt Olson. Which honestly, that is not bad. At least defensively in the infield, that is really not bad at all.
It's really good luck trying to get an infield hit on that one.
And just to add on to that too, with if you need him to go play some outfield, if Michael Harris needs a day off, or if he hits the IL, or Ronald Acuna, as well as Jerks and Profar. So yeah, the Braves really got a good one in Dubon being able to play the infield and the outfield. But just to add on to Nick Allen real quick, maybe the reason why the Astros had gotten Allen was this is barely going to be his first year of arbitration. And the projected number of that is going to be 1.1 million.
Can even be lower too.
Yeah, and it could be lower as well, like you mentioned. 5.8 in Dubon, 4.4 in Urías. You're going to an Allen with 1.1. Like I said, this is going to be his first year of arbitration. Like Angel had mentioned too, that number could go down as well.
Because if you look at what he did last year, he batted 221. 0 home runs, but he's never hit for power. Maybe he can sneak one in with the Crawford boxes, because for Nick Allen not having a lot of power, he did play in Oakland for 3 years, and then Atlanta, so not doing too many favors there. But the thing I'm looking at is high strikeout, almost 100 strikeouts, 99, 31 walks, 22 RBIs with 0 home runs, but again 221. It does have a 5.35 OPS, so not ideal. You're probably you're looking like a contact hitter right there. He's not gonna surprise you with power as much, but the goal is for him to get on base and wreak havoc on the base path too. So he did have 8 stolen bases this past year too. So again, you're just looking at a guy to fill in when someone needs a day off. I don't think Nick Allen's going to be an everyday infielder anyway.
Yeah, and not to mention too, you're bringing up the offensive numbers. I got some right here: 11 doubles, 32 runs, 22 RBIs, 8 stolen bases, 135 games with the Braves in 25. He did start with the Athletics. He was a 3rd round pick in the 2017 draft, as well as being a Gold Glove finalist. So the Astros did, trade a Gold Glover, winning the Gold Glove 2 times in a row. Well, not in a row, but 2 of the last 3 seasons. And still getting a Gold Glove caliber player back. He was like I said, a finalist at shortstop. Think about that. From all the shortstops in the National League, he's a finalist up there. Ranking 4th in outs above average in the National League with 17, just like Mauricio Dubon. So honestly, it's not a bad trade, but I'm still going to be firm with this. I think Houston could have gone to the category of looking at as a reliever or a pitcher because, of course, like we mentioned, pitching has been like a high supply from the trade deadline. It's going to be a high demand in the offseason, the winter meetings coming up. So, I mean, it's pretty good that they're bringing a Gold Glover like him, a finalist at least, onto a really star-studded defensive infield with guys like Correa, Pena, Walker that has Gold Glove, patches on them Rawlings mitts.
Yeah, but Nick Allen could possibly win too. But a utility guy this year.
Yeah, he could. But speaking of utility guys, and we've heard this name since the trade deadline. The Astros have been linked to this guy for a good while, and that is Brendan Donovan of the St. Louis Cardinals. And this has come from Chairman Rome, has says the Astros are among teams to express interest in Mr. Donovan, and I like it. I like it. Brendan Donovan, first time All-Star this season with the Cardinals. 287 average, 353 on base percentage, 422 slugging, 775 OPS. Of course, the number for OPS, if you're hitting average, is 700. So looking at that, 775, that's pretty much almost close to above average or at that threshold. Offensively, 132 hits, 32 doubles, 10 home runs, 50 RBIs. And the fielding versatility this guy brings, I think that's why I was like, when Dubon got traded, and I was thinking in my head, I was like, okay, maybe Houston's possibly looking into Donovan, trying to at least get to that finish line of acquiring this guy. And in 2024, he played 153 games, and he was honestly played almost every position. Left field, 105 games. Second base, 53 games. Third base, 9 games. Right field, he played once. And in 2025, 118 games were played. He played second base this time a little bit more, 100 games. Left field, a little bit less, 18. Shortstop, 6 games. So give me your input of possibly Donovan as a asset to this team. Of course, if nothing's set in stone, we don't know what's going to be the asking price for St. Louis, but your thoughts on the Astros potentially looking in and grabbing this guy from the Cardinals?
The other thing is we're having the same conversation as if Mauricio Dubon is in the team. Where do you play him, right? So it's you can like you said, you can interchange him out. He's played outfield, but then that means taking the bat away from Isaac Baez and either Jose Altuve or Cam Smith, right? Or guys like that. My thinking is if they can get Donovan on a good offer, that's fine, right? But because guys do need day offs. But how many at bats would Donovan realistically be getting in a week, right? Obviously, the goal is if you're getting signed a guy like Donovan is to play him every day, right? So it's just kind of hard to plug him in. What I'm thinking, and this can be a hot take right now, is the Astros freeing up Mauricio Dubon, freeing up the money that they're going to give to Urías, is they sign Dylan Cease and another top pitcher. Because I think that's been their biggest thing. Mm-hmm. I think that's Dana Brown is noticing is that this Astros team could have gone to the playoffs if the pitching would have held up. Because after Hunter Brown, after Hunter Brown was, a success, right? But then you got Fernando Valdez, who was inconsistent. Other guys have been inconsistent, and injuries just popped up. So I think, yeah, Dana Brown wants pitching. I think he's going to do everything he can to do it. So bringing a guy again would be like Donovan would be it'll be great for the Astros, but I don't think infielder is what they're looking for. Maybe a left-handed hitting outfielder is a possibility, right? But at the right now, like we said, this infield's kind of packed. And where do you put these guys? And then I mean, if they sounded great, I think it'll work out for the Astros. But I think the priority for Dana Brown is pitching, and freeing up Urías, freeing up Dubon just gives him more money to work with to bring in a guy like Cease and maybe bring back Fernando Valdez or bring back another top pitcher that's available. So I don't know. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, to me, this is a perfect fit for Houston. Okay. I think he checks all the boxes. Left-handed hitter, Gold Glover, All-Star, and versatile. The guy has played infield and outfield. I'm not sure what Houston's plan is of letting Urías be a designated for assignment and then now seeing this move of Dubon being traded, you're bringing in Allen, who's a Gold Glove finalist in the infield. What tells me, and speaking of Donovan, real quick, great guy at the plate, has great
Yeah.
discipline, good bat to ball skills. You're not gonna see a lot of home runs, more of anything contact, line drives, and all that. And that's what Houston was missing in this lineup, was somebody that was gonna work the counts, have some type of discipline at the plate. Because like I had mentioned in previous podcasts, the only one as the number one guy was Isaac Paredes. That was it. I mean, you can maybe put a number in for Alvarez and some other guys, but the top of the list who was having great at bats, working the count 5 to 7 to 8 pitches at of every AB was Paredes.
Yeah.
So bringing in Donovan would help that lineup. I think it should make it stronger. Of course, it'd be interesting to see where you're going to put him in the lineup. You could actually put him either in the top or the middle part of this order. And I will say this: you did say a hot take about the Astros going to sign Dylan Cease, and I think that's still my number one thing that they're going to do is going to sign Dylan Cease. And you said sign another top guy. I mean, that'd be really good for Houston, because you could put him at 3 or 4 in that rotation. So this is going to be my take. I believe the Astros, because like I said, we're not 100% sure what St. Louis is going to be asking. They could be asking for prospects. They could be asking for, MLB ready guys right now. But what I'm thinking is, because Joe Spada did talk about Cam Smith's development in right field on foul territory. I don't know if he caught that. If Cam can get it, can develop quickly, that the Astros would like to, see him. Of course, there's that option of bringing him down to AAA, Sugarland, getting the work over there. Another name that's going to be out there is Jesus Sanchez. The Astros have till Friday to give Sanchez a tender or a non-tender. And what he's projected, according to MLB Trade Rumor, is $6.5 million, which I highly doubt that number is going to be agreed upon between the Astros. Maybe Sanchez sees it, but I do not think the Astros are going to go over that number. It'd probably be 4 or 5, or like I had mentioned, the possibility of him not even being tendered. So that frees up some space in the outfield. You got young guys in Melton, Zach Cole. We've yet to talk about Jake Meyers. And in left field, I mean, it's kind of a toss-up. You got Jose Altuve, you got Yordan Alvarez, and Zach Zenzo, like you mentioned. So I think the Astros could pull this trade off with Donovan and possibly trade.
So we got you. All right. So, all right, we got a man down, and I didn't hear what he was saying that last part. But what the thing with me and Brendan Donovan is, you have a stacked outfield and a stacked infield. So if we look at the Astros infielders right now, you have Carlos Correa, Bryce Matthews, Isaac Paredes, Jeremy Pena, Christian Walker, and you can even put Jose Altuve in there. So, I mean, Brendan Donovan would be a good. I agree with Zoe in that aspect where Brendan Donovan could be a good fit. I can see it. It's just for a guy that's. It's going to be kind of hard to fit everybody in, especially if Isaac Paredes is healthy, because Isaac Paredes is a great bat. Christian Walker, I know he had a rough season, but he's a great at bat. Carlos Correa as well, Jeremy Pena. Those are the guys that are going to be playing every day. And then you have Cam Smith, Jake Meyers, and either Altuve or Yordan in right field. I'm sorry, left field. It's going to be kind of tough to bring a guy like Walker. I think the Astros leaning a little bit more pitching heavy, because that's been the biggest thing. I know they've been looking for a left-handed bat, and I agree with Zoe that Brendan Donovan is a great left-handed bat. But again, it's kind of hard to see that, and it's kind of hard to I don't know what's going to happen, but I just don't think that it'll be the best fit for the Astros when the biggest thing they need is pitching. And like, speaking of Jake Meyers right now, This is per Feely's beat writer for The Athletic, Miguel. Meyers, considered a strong defender, does not hit for power, but he could be a decent alternative to Harrison Bader if he lands elsewhere. Houston is fielding calls on Meyers as well. So this is another guy. Now, if the Astros are looking to maybe move Meyers, then I can see the Brendan Donovan move make a little bit more sense. All right. So I just think that is, but we do have a comment right here where it says, I didn't know Dana Brown and Joe Spot will be gone after 26. So why are we excited for it? I don't know. I don't know about that one. That was the Pure Panda. But Zoe, welcome back. I was just, I, we lost you when you were gonna finish your saying where it says trade this person. That's when you cut off. So I was just kind of going based like how I was saying, like Brendan Donovan. Like I agree with you that Brendan Donovan can make this team better, right? But I was just kind of going back that I think pitching isn't necessary. But I was gonna say, because I did read the Jake Meyers part already and how the Phillies were showing kind of interest in that. And I do agree with, if the Astros do move on from Jake Meyers, then Brendan Donovan would make sense, filling in one of those outfield spots. You're on mute, or we can't hear you right now. All right. So, and this is according to Chandler Rome from the podcast too. The Astros have been receiving calls for Miles so far this offseason. This past offseason, Meyers had probably his best offensive season. I think everybody could agree with that. He played 104 games, 292 batting average, 354 slugging. I'm sorry, on base percentage, 373 slugging for a total of 725 on base percentage. Did have 100 hits, 15 doubles, 2 triples, 3 home runs, and 24 RBIs. And he struck out less than 67 times and stole more than 16 bags, right? So, and his defense speaks for himself, right? He covers a lot of ground. Gold Glove finalist in 2024 as well. So this is a guy that defensively, he's a great player, and offensively, I think he's just starting to figure it out. Obviously, that injury kind of cost him some games and kind of cost him some, accolades maybe, right? But it's an interesting take on the Astros, right? I think I wonder what they'll do. I think they'll keep Meyers, but if the price is right, the offer is good. If the Astros offer some, if the Phillies offer some good pitching, then I can see that, happening. And then
we have. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was like, we do have a comment say, I will actually be depressed if the Astros trade with Jake Meyers because he has a great arm and he improved his bat, but he should be ready for opening day. Go ahead.
Yeah. Talking about Jake Meyers, a lot of people love Jake in Astros uniform. A lot of Astro fans to say everybody wants him to stay, but like we talked about in the beginning of the show, talking about the business part, it's a business at the end of the day. And I'm pretty sure Jake Meyers wants to stay at Houston Astros as well. But just going back to real quick with the Donovan, if you trade away Jake Meyers, I guarantee you either Zach Cole is going to step up as that center fielder or Jacob Melton, depending on who. I think maybe one of the prospects too could be traded. Not everybody is safe in stone, but I can see one of those guys filling in that void. And, to talk about Melton, we've saw his defensive capabilities, what he brings to the table. You see, he could play the corners as well, but being able to play in center, I mean, the kid has a bunch of range. And of course, Zach Cole too, with the offensive power that he brings. Of course, the strikeout number is a little bit high, but other than that, I mean, I'm pretty sure he can be better at his defense as well. And we saw Zach Cole play some center field in the last part of that season with Jake Meyers being out. So
yeah,
I can see that happening. And like I said, and that's why I see the possibility of Brendan Donovan coming to Houston could be very strong. But like we had mentioned, I've mentioned, is just the asking price. What's the asking price going to be from St. Louis? However, going back to Jake Meyers now, one of his best offensive seasons. If he doesn't get hurt, there could be a possibility that he finishes at 280. Could be a possibility that's at a good 295, or it can even be over 300. He was having that great of an offensive season. The home runs, it wasn't there. The RBIs, of course, wasn't there, but I'm pretty sure the extra base hits could have been there. Was a great player to plug at the bottom of that order, being the 8 and 9 spot. So if you're the Astros, you have this opportunity, and I think John Morosi had said this. One of the MLB analysts had mentioned in a tweet that numerous teams are asking for outfielders at this moment. And having Jake, and like Angel had mentioned, with the accolades of him, he could honestly win a Gold Glove of finishing his career. You have that opportunity, one of his best offensive seasons, the ground that he can cover in center field, the way he plays defense. This is the opportunity I think the Astros have in order to go get a reliever, go get a pitcher, or just get any prospects or MLB ready players now for a guy like Jake Meyers. Because, like I had mentioned, your outfield, it's already pretty much, it's almost the same thing as the infield, but the outfield, it's very young. Cam Smith's
Yeah.
very young. Jesus Sanchez is very young. Zach Cole, Jacob Melton, Zach DeZenzo too, still young. So you have a very youthful outfield in that could cover some ground, and I think Houston should pounce on that and be able to find a way to, if it's not the Phillies, maybe look at some other teams that could be. They're probably calling Houston right now at this moment to see what the availability is for Jake Meyers.
What makes just Jake Meyers talk with the Phillies interesting is the amount of arbitration years he has left. The reason why Mauricio Dubon for Nick Allen makes sense is because this was in his Mauricio Dubon's in his final years of arbitration, right? So next year he's going to be a free agent. So it's basically a rental situation for a year for Atlanta unless they're going to sign him long term. However, Jake Meyers is going in his first year of arbitration this year.
Yeah.
Let me make sure I get that right. Yeah. So then, sorry, go ahead.
No, and I'm just gonna say, I mean, that just puts on more value to this player is the arbitration years.
Absolutely, right? So it's his first year this year. He in his age 30 season. So he's great defensively, but he's already, by the time he's done with arbitration, he'll be 32. So what makes this interesting for the Phillies is Dana Brown was like, all right, we're giving you a player with 3 years of arbitration. Then the names Johan Duran makes sense, right? For a reliever, I would say.
Wow.
Jose. I mean, you're getting a guy.
I mean,
No.
all-star now.
I'm just naming some guys, right? That could be possibilities. So I'm sure if you're Dana Brown, you're inquiring, all right, 3 years of arbitration. What's Duran going to cause? What's Jose Alvarado going to cause? Maybe you're looking at maybe even Jesus Luzardo, which I doubt it, right? But I'm saying like maybe even who's like the names start to open up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Wheeler will be in that conversation, but maybe like Christopher Sanchez, right? So guys who haven't really been fully established yet, but because if you look at this guy, like the Phillies need a little bit of outfield help, right? Or maybe even a Nick Castellanos because they had Brandon Marsh at center field. Now I'm not throwing any shade at Brandon Marsh, but who would you rather have? Jake Meyers or Brandon Marsh?
I think too, Brandon Marsh has been playing a lot more corner than center, because center field was Harrison Bader, and I'm gonna fumble this as well, but I believe his name was
Johan Rojas.
So yeah, and like you were saying, no offense to Brandon Marsh and no offense to them other two guys and Bader. Well, Bader plays a really excellent outfield, and even Rojas, but I think Jake Meyers would kind of fit that void that they're looking for somebody, especially at Census Bay Park, that plays the gaps in left center and right center. And I think he would be an excellent fit over there. Yeah. But like you're saying, I mean, it just depends on, and for Dana Brown, who are the Phillies, able to give up in this trade? Yeah, and that's why I go back. That's why I go back to, I don't think the Astros will get, they possibly could get one MLB ready player, but more than anything, I think it could be prospects coming back in this deal if they decided to trade with the Bills.
It could be, right? But I'm just saying, like, with 3 years of arbitration, that opens the door for a big reliever, right? Because imagine you throw in, okay, I'm just speculating a trade here. Just throw in Zach DeZenzo and Jake Meyers, and the Astros get maybe Johan Duran and Alan Rangel, just throwing another name right there.
Yeah.
That's Josh Hader, Brian Abreu, and Johan Duran to close at the 7-8-9. That's pretty elite again, right? So I'm not saying 1-for-1 is gonna seal the deal, right? But then you start playing around with it, moving some numbers around, moving some players around. I think that's a possibility. But it's just my only thing is how much confidence do they have in the young players right now? Now they had enough confidence. They had enough confidence that go to bring them up, right, and get some at bats. But you're looking at 162 games in the season, right? You're looking at a season where the team they were playing might not have enough field with Zach Cole. Now they do, right? They're gonna adjust to that. How is the young kid gonna adjust? You literally just said Joe Spotto talked about Cam Smith, and Cam Smith for not playing outfield played pretty good, right? A long time, and they're still talking about his youth, his development there. Exactly.
Finalist for the Gold Glove.
And yet they're still talking about his development, his youth, right, and stuff like that. So if the Phillies, like, again, don't resign Bader, Jake Meyers can, be an option, but I just think they hold on to Jake Meyers for one more year just to see how the young guys flow. And then based on the things and based on what they think, that's when they make a move.
It's kind of funny how you say that too, and I go back to this, think about it. Dana Brown took a gamble.
Yeah.
And the gamble wasn't fully going to be Cam Smith going and playing MLB ready baseball for opening day. The whole trade was to get Isaac Paredes and Hayden Wesneski. Of course, bringing in a number one guy to bolster that farm system was Cam Smith, putting the cherry on top of it. But the whole reason of that trade was to bring Paredes, who can fill that void at third base, and bring in another starting pitcher in Wesneski. You brought in a kid with Cam Smith, and at that time, he was an infielder. Nobody really saw him going to be playing some outfield. But then Dana Brown thought about it, of his athletic capabilities, what he brings to the table. His athleticism was the biggest thing. And that's what made Brown think, you know what, let's give this kid a try in the outfield, work with, with Dave Clark, Jason Bell, see if we can get this kid ready for opening day possibly. And sure enough, I mean, he shined in spring training, MLB spring breakout game, as well as them two exhibition games at home at Dyken Park. He showed out. And that's what gave the confidence enough for Brown to say, you know what, let's give this kid a chance and have him on opening day. And he didn't even sit on the bench on opening day. He was on the starting lineup against the New York Mets when he was taking the field at right. So that's what makes me feel like if the Astros do trade Jake Meyers, this is going to be Brown feeling very comfortable, feeling very confident in these young kids. When I can't even say kids, but these young prospects in Melton, in Cole, Cam Smith taking that jump, and not hope, if you're a Nationals fan, you're not hoping that he has a sophomore slump, because you have seen those from some previous players, as well as Zach DeZenzo being young as well. So this is just a thought. I'm not sure about Jesus Sanchez yet. I did say I think the Astros do tender him, but if they're really looking hard at Donovan, if I'm Houston, I'm looking at every way, every chance to go get him. You would save money, non-tender that contract of Sanchez. You still get your left-handed hitter at the end of the day, and you could have him in the infield, the outfield, which I would think he'd be playing more outfield than infield, and then you give these young prospects a try at center field, unless they want to go the free agent route, which I don't think there's some big names out there. Trent Grisham was, I think you can say, a big name in center field.
He took his qualifying offer.
Yeah, he took the qualifying offer with the Yankees. So that really thins up of the free agents in the outfield.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting again how this offseason, but this is just a start for a busy outfield. Busy offseason for the Astros. Honestly, there's more to come, but we did talk about how Ramón Urías was DFA'd, right? We talked about that. Now, Miguel Ullola was added to the Astros 40-man roster, and this is just to protect him from the Rule 5 draft, because he has been minor leaguer for 5 years, so which makes him eligible to get drafted up by any other team. And that was just a given. I don't think the Astros were gonna want to lose Miguel Ullola, because I could honestly see him pitching some innings this year or this upcoming year for the Astros. Injury, he could be a starter, even just maybe he's ready. And he was named PCL Pitcher of the Month in May and was twice named PCL Pitcher of the Week. So this is a guy with good stuff. This is a guy who I think is major league ready or pretty darn
I think
close.
so too. I think he's. I don't believe that he's going to be on the opening day roster. Let's get that out the way right now. I could be shocked because I thought the same thing with Cam Smith. I thought he would start at AAA for a little bit and then be brought up, but we saw Dana Brown kind of show his hand on that and can become
We
the
can
next
see that.
Framber Valdez. He can actually. The Astros have done a really fabulous job finding these guys from the international player signings, and we talked about it before with Valdez, Javier, Urquidy. I mean, Ronel Blanco. The list goes on and on. So Houston has done a fabulous job doing that, and I think this guy could land in that category of players and prospects that the Astros do a really good job at doing when they're you know scouting in the free agent, scouting outside in the international pool. And that's honestly been Houston's strength from that time of the cheating scandal, was looking for guys like that. So for Miguel Ullola, I think more than anything, he'll probably be I wouldn't even say April. I'd say more of a May to summer target of being brought up.
I think so. Now again, I agree with you. I think maybe like June is right. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if yes, the Zoo put him on the opening roster. Maybe that fifth guy, if they can't sign the two pitchers or just take a chance with it. But I mean, I know I said earlier that how confident are the Astros in these young guys, but I mean they've shown to, like you said, trust these young guys a lot more, especially starting with Cam Smith, right? So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, just think about the lists of prospects that have gone up, like Bryce Matthews, Cone Gordon finally got a shot, Ryan Gusto got a shot, AJ Blueball, Zach Cole, who was so you started, if I'm not mistaken, in Double A last season. He started in Double A and then sure enough shot up into the big leagues. Jacob Melton. I mean, the list goes on. Dana Brown is not afraid to bring up these young prospects. He is not afraid. If they're doing good and they're playing really consistent baseball at AAA, what more than anything is going to be at Sugarland. It's not going to be at Corpus. Then he's going to bring them up because, of course, with Houston last year, the injuries just were bad. Every player you can think of was hurt. 17 Astros hurt. I mean, the combined WAR was like a 17, if I'm not mistaken, too. So, yeah, I mean, Brown's not afraid. He has the full confidence in these prospects. And with Ullola, I mean, think about it. I'm looking at what his numbers are: lowest ERA and opponent batting average, ranked second strikeouts and fourth in WHIP. So he's shown that he's able to pitch in this type of environment. I'm pretty sure he's pitched in the Dominican Winter League as well. I'm not sure if he's doing that as of right now because, of course, you see some prospects go from the minor leagues and then go straight to winter ball, being able to work on their craft. Of course, two coaches and front office members have a saying of helping these guys out to get better at their game. So I think Ullola more than likely is going to make a start this year. Just for Astros fans, you just wonder when it's going to happen because for these past two seasons, like I mentioned, you've seen the injuries of Urquidy, you've seen Javier, you saw Garcia, you saw Wisniewski, Walter. I mean, the list goes on. The list goes on. So of course, you're going to have some type of safety blanket to see if Houston's going to have to bring one of these guys up.
Yeah. Well, again, we'll just see what happens. But ready for tender, non-tender?
Yeah, this is not the dating website, just letting everybody know right now, because if it was, we'd be swiping, I don't know if it's left or right for both of us being Tinder as a match. Co-host, host. Right now, Esteban is not a match since he's not here. We miss Stebby a lot. But yeah, moving on to the Tinder, non-tender part of this segment. According to MLB trade rumors, the Astros have cut around, like I had mentioned, $10 million in projected payroll, and that was because of not bringing back Chas McCormick, not bringing back Luis Garcia, not bringing back as well as Ramón Urías. So another name that could be on that list is Mauricio Dubon. That could be projected almost to 15 million with that number, what he was projected to make. So the last day for the Astros, and not to just remind everybody that there are 13 players on the roster right now, and just adding Allen, replacing Allen and Dubon, that are on arbitration. They got to go through these hearings. They got to have to agree with a number with a certain person. This happens in court, if I'm not mistaken, right? Right, Angel? This happens in an actual courtroom that
Yeah,
one of the Astros
with an
personnel,
arbitrator. Yeah,
yeah, and a player, they set on a number to see who agrees on one number, and then they try to, mutually agree on a number. So, like I mentioned, Friday, November 21 is the deadline to tender and non-tender players. Of course, you've heard a lot of players' names been out there. Of course, Dubon was there, Urías is there. Look at the Rangers right now. They're trying to figure out if Adolis Garcia and Jonah Heim are going to be on this team next year. So let's start off with Stephen O'Kurt. And we did this in the last part of the series of the Astros, or that press conference. We did do this segment. Now we're doing a refresher. Stephen O'Kurt, let's start it off. He's projected to make $2 million. Did we see that as a tender, non-tender?
I would say tender. I think he was pretty good off the pen, and you always need enough pitching, enough relievers, and 2 million. I think is pretty reasonable for Steven O'Kurt.
Yeah, I believe so too. $2 million. We'll agree on that. On that one. Brian Abreu, a guy that's been a workhorse for this bullpen, who has been a really success for this Astros bullpen for a good number of seasons now. The projected number is 5.9 million.
I think so.
I
think you have no choice.
You really don't, because Josh Hader, he's been your setup man. He's done a really good job setting up for Josh Hader. We've seen him in the closing role. I think the setup man just fits him a little bit more well than the closing role. So that's that one. An interesting name for this one is Eniel De Los Santos. Remember, Astros got him off waivers. If I'm not mistaken, he came from the Braves. The projected number for this guy is 2.1. He did a decent job with Houston when he was claimed and was able to be used in the role. So 2.1, do you think that's a friendly number for Houston that could potentially be tendering this?
It is, but I don't think they'll tender him. I think they'll let him go. If they were to bring him back, maybe for like a cheaper contract, right? So I'd say non-tender.
I agree with that. I don't think they could do on the contract since he's arbitration.
Well, I think if you can sign like a minor league deal, and then
you're right.
So it's like that.
I agree with you. I think non-tender would have to go for that one. So we'll go Crickets with that one, because that one's not a given for a guy like that. Like I said, did a really good job for Houston in that last couple parts of the season, but I think the Astros are probably going to look for another name, possibly in the free agent market, to bring into this bullpen. Isaac Paredes, there's nothing that you can say about this guy. Played through, honestly, rushed from an injury to come back and play for this team to see if they can make a postseason run. You saw the plate appearances that he had put up, 8 pitch to 10 pitch at bats, home runs, pull happy type of guy at the plate. Played a good defense as well. Let's not take that away from him. Played a good defense at third base, who more than likely is going to be looking at third or second or first this upcoming season. If I had to take a guess, like we had both mentioned, he could be your starting second baseman going into 2026 opening day. Projected number is 9.3 million. That's a big number, but is it
big
worth?
Time player.
Yeah, big time player.
Yeah, tender.
You're definitely tendering this guy. He honestly, this is what's going to hurt him was that injury, and Houston's going to try. And I'm not speaking for the Astros, but I'm pretty sure when it comes to these hearings, they're going to say, "Well, you did miss some time due to your hamstring injury." So that number could either be at that point, it could be just a little bit lower, or it could be just a little bit higher. I wouldn't be surprised if it hits the 10 million mark, but yeah, we're tendering that contract. Both of us saying we. Jesus Sanchez. It was a good first couple, 3 series, and then kind of his swing just wasn't doing too well. Wasn't hitting the balls, barreling up, anything like that. Defense as well was not a very good strength in the outfield in some of the games, trying to get a ground ball, stuff like that. 6.5 million. Are we tendering? Or are we not tendering?
I'd say you tender him. You have a new hitting coach. You have a new new personnel there. I think you give him the chance. If he proves unsuccessful, then you got to do what you got to do. But I think he's earned the right, just what he's done throughout the league. He's a veteran out there, so I think you give him the chance to prove himself to get some playing time out there. And depending when he does his spring training, and then we'll see how it goes from there. But I'll tell you tender.
Do we see the 6.5 million number though?
I'm sure. I'm sure. So, like for example, I think with Brian Abreu, Zach Bettis, I think they'll agree on a number, but I think in Jesus Sanchez case, I think this is the one that goes more into arbitration, and I'm sure the Astros are going to want to offer less than what he's getting just because of what he did with the Astros in that short period of time. But you never know. But I think, for example, like the big name guys that are on here that we mentioned so far, Abreu, Isaac, I think they agree on a number, but guys that have been a little bit more consistent, I think that's when it gets a little shaky. I think that's when you start going more into like the details of the metrics and all the stuff for the player. So I 6.5, I think the Astros would try to offer less.
Yeah, I see a 5.5. Maybe.
Well, how low can they go? Like I know it's a small percentage. They can go lower. They can't go foot. Like
I'm not 100. I don't have it right in front of me. That's a good question, honestly.
I'd say it's 6 or maybe 6.1 because I don't think they can go that low.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it's going to be 6. If it could go lower, minimum for I would say would be 5.5, which, like you were mentioning, we're not 100% sure. That's a good question, Angel. I never thought about that until you just said it right now. But yeah, you'll tender this guy just for that fact of, like you mentioned, the hitting coaches, that you're getting a new personnel coming into biomechanics, to analytics, to old school of baseball mentality. You're getting 3 different perspectives of the way your hitting approach should be. That's going to gel together with these 3 guys, I believe. And this honestly could look like a different Jesus Sanchez. And I'm saying this right now.
He has the pop.
That's what I'm saying. Forget the bat speed. The guy has absolute. If he barrels that ball, it can go a long way. I think he had the furthest home run, if I'm not mistaken, in 24 in Chicago.
Yeah.
And that's the Windy City right there too. Balls are not favored.
I think it was in Miami.
No, it was in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised in Miami either. So, Jake Meyers, guy that we already talked about, 3.5 million.
That's your starting center fielder, yeah.
Yeah. But, like I said, with the same thing with Paredes, with the injury, kind of.
They'll agree on a number.
A little bit number. Yeah.
They'll agree on a number. 3.5 works.
A guy that's coming up right here. Career season, all-star season. Had the potential of being an extension guy for the Astros this season and didn't really have to go into arbitration is Jerry Pena. 7.9 million.
I think this is a guy that will go to arbitration, not because the Astros are going to want to pay him less, but I think because Jerry Pena is going to think he earns more, and I think so too. I think the Astros will try, if that 7.9 is the number, I think that's what the Astros will offer, but I'm sure Jerry Pena will try to be in the 8, right? So yeah. I think that's where they go to arbitration, and I do think Jerry Pena gets his 8 million.
I agree. Almost had a 300 batting average. Just if that last part of the series, 2 series, he was dealing with an oblique injury, if I'm not mistaken. But all-star season, Gold Glove. Of course, you got a shortstop. He's done a really fabulous job being able. I mean, there's sometimes that he kind of struggles with swinging out of the zone, but other than that, I mean, really good bat-to-ball hitter this season. And just like another guy that had a hell of a season, Cy Young finalist, finished 3rd on the board in the American League, 2nd, All-MLB second team. That is Hunter Brown.
Pay the man what he wants.
7 million. Yeah. 5.7 million, man. I don't. That number is going to be in the 6 for sure. And it could even if it has the projection of going over, like we're talking about that percentage Angel was saying, it can even go to 7 because
I don't think. Again, I think it's the same percentage down or up.
That's what I'm saying. If it had that ability to, this guy could be going into that part of it. So yeah, tendering for sure. Yainer Diaz 4.5 million. Interesting one right here.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. This was an interesting one. I think the Astros will try to offer less than 4.5 million, just because I think he did take a dip in his numbers a little bit. But I mean, that's just trying catcher. You're gonna have to agree on a number. I think it'll be closer to 4.5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 4.5 is going to be the number like we're saying. I mean, the Astros were hoping for a lot of pop from Yiner this season. You saw the power in 24. You saw the power in 23 as well. And Houston was hoping that Yiner Diaz would be that Yiner Diaz at the plate. But kind of struggled. Not saying that it was a dramatic struggle, but I mean, a lot of coaching staff, I'm pretty sure, was thinking like this guy was going to hit 20 plus home runs, kind of close to the 90 RBI threshold. OPS was going to be looking good. Extra base hits were going to be there. But you had a lot of inconsistency from Yiner this season. But just for that, they're going to tender no matter what. It's just going to be that number. It's going to be the part where they have to figure out. Hayden Wesneski, $1.5 million.
You obviously tender. I think you try to get less because he didn't play a full season.
I agree with you on that. Ben Souza, $1.1 million.
I think you tender just because you need relief. Same thing. I think you try to offer less.
I think Souza's going to try to offer a little bit more. He's been consistent in an Astros uniform for these past 2 seasons. And that's why if you're Houston, man, I think Souza's the better left-handed pitcher between him and O'Kurt. Nothing against Steven. However, Souza has been, like I said, he's been very consistent whenever his name has been called these past 2 seasons. Well, from 2023 to 25, because 24 he was, I think if I'm not mistaken, he was out for the whole season dealing with an arm issue. So don't be surprised if Souza tries to ask for more, but the projected number 1.1. Last but not least, a guy that Angel had interviewed and a really nice human being, Taylor Trammell. 900,000.
Sounds about right. Didn't play early in the season, more of a, and then got hurt later. It was more of a backup bro. So I think if the Astros Jake generous, I'll probably go maybe 9.5 1 million, but I think 900 sounds where he's at.
You said 9.5?
Yeah, like 9,500. Yeah.
Gosh, 9.5 is it's a crazy number, but yeah, it's that one's gonna be another interesting call because of the youth that the Astros have. Just so much. I think there's just so much depth in the outfield.
You always need a veteran presence.
Yes, I absolutely. That's a great point right there. That
especially for example, Cam Smith, right? I'm sure he got some pointers from Taylor Trammell on reads. I'm sure he got some help from Chas McCormick, Jake Meyers on reads. I think just having a guy like that can help, with situational baseball and, just gain that high IQ type of thing and plays with heart. Is going to lay out, as you saw last year. This is a guy that, and he's lefty too. So this is a guy that I think the Astros will try to keep.
That you made a great point. You pulled me in. I believe this is a tender contract. So I think he loved the city too, if I'm not mistaken. He just thrived with energy like you were talking about. And he would be a good veteran presence now. He's been in the league for maybe about 5 years, 6 years, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So former first round.
However, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't tender him.
That's what I'm saying. If they don't non-tender him, that you save whatever the projection number that was, like we're saying the 900,000. The only players out of this list we both agree on is De Los Santos, non-tender. We both have the mix one with Jesus Sanchez. You say tender. I say they will tender, but I wouldn't be surprised if they non-tender because of the season that he had. Just, you never know. So that is pretty much it for today's show. And that was the last segment of tender non-tender of this 293 episode with Astros trading Mauricio Dubon. That was the biggest news of the day. But Angel had said in the beginning of the show, we have a great crowd today. Of course, our larger audience is coming from Twitter. But if you are on Twitter, make sure you head to our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button as well. Hit that notification bell because we are getting some interviews lined up for this offseason to Astros personnel, former Astros personnel, former players, current players. We're going to try to get all of that going this off season. But like Angel had mentioned, social media is at the bottom of our screen with TikTok full steam ahead, at full steam ahead on X, where if you're watching this podcast as well, FSA full steam ahead on Instagram. That is the only part of our handle that's been different. And if you haven't heard us on this YouTube channel or on Twitter, of course, you can hear the audio on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, because Thanksgiving is coming up. And if you need to mow your lawn, get everything ready, stuff that turkey for some reason that you want to hear us take your Astros input, make sure we're on there. Give us a like, give us a rate, feedback, comments, all that great stuff. We dearly appreciate. But Cantu, do we have any final words, final sayings? Because Javier Gonzalez, a great friend of ours, salary dump, guys. Yes, it is a salary dump.
We've been saying that, yeah.
Yeah, we've been in the beginning of the show. We did mention that was more than anything why the Astros traded Mauricio Dubon. It wasn't because they just wanted another infielder. It was because of salary dump. So, Mr. Javier Gonzalez, we appreciate your input. Cantu, final thoughts?
No, just thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of the show, and we appreciate all the comments, all the listeners, and I guess we're ready for baseball season because this is a middle of the season crowd right here.
Yeah, middle of the season crowd. Like I said, I mean, this was a great crowd, great showing today. Of course, we're gonna have some shorts and TikTok reels and all that great stuff loaded onto our social channel. So make sure, like I said, don't be late, because we're gonna have a good off season coming up. Of course, there's a lot of big names out there that's out in the market, and for Astro fans, I know that didn't sit very well for y'all, seeing playoff baseball on your couch and not seeing the Stros on your TV. And I think Joe Espada said that on Foul Territory TV as well, that it just did not sit well. So they're going to be playing some postseason baseball this upcoming season, making some moves to try to go back to October and get back to the Fall Classic. But till then, y'all stay safe. Y'all have a blessed weekend, and we will talk to y'all before Thanksgiving. More than likely, it could be Monday, it could be Tuesday. But for sure, one of them days, it's not going to be Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, because just for the fact Thanksgiving, we want to be able to celebrate with our families and our loved ones. But till then, y'all stay safe, and we'll talk to y'all soon.
Peace.